Before we begin tonight's story, I just want to take a moment to say something important. This episode covers multiple regions and cultures across Southeast Asia, South Asia, and East Africa, and includes many cities and communities with names that may be unfamiliar to some of us in the West. I've done my best to research and pronounce them correctly, but if I get something wrong, please accept my sincere apology. It's never out of disrespect, but rather the challenge of navigating unfamiliar words with care. If you're from one of these areas and hear a mispronunciation, I'd truly appreciate your grace, and feel free to reach out so that I can get it right in the future episodes. Because tonight's story doesn't just belong to history, it belongs to people. Real people, families, survivors, and those we've lost. With that said, it began like any other day. A radiant Sunday morning, the sun rising over the Indian Ocean, casting gold over the coastlines of Thailand, Sri Lanka, India, and Indonesia. In Banda, Aceh, Indonesia, the streets buzzed with motorcycles and morning markets. In Phuket, Thailand, tourists enjoyed beachfront breakfasts and snorkeling tours. In Tamil Nadu, India, fishermen launched their boats. Children played in the surf. The air was warm, the sky was clear, and the ocean was calm. But deep beneath the sea, something ancient stirred, something powerful enough to ripple across continents, something silent until it wasn't. I'm Brian, and this is When Nature Strikes. We take you back to the moment the earth shifted and the sea rose up, in one of the deadliest natural disasters the modern world has ever seen, the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. It was 7:58 a.m. local time on December 26, 2004. A massive rupture along the Sunda megathrust just off the west coast of Sumatra, Indonesia. Two of the Earth's titanic tectonic plates, the Indian plate and the Burma plate, collided in a slow-motion geological war. That morning, the Indian plate lurched under the Burma plate in a sudden and violent thrust. The rupture extended 1,600 kilometers, nearly the length of the U.S. West Coast, and released the equivalent of 23,000 Hiroshima bombs of energy. The ocean floor rose abruptly by up to 15 meters, which is close to 50 feet. Displacing trillions of gallons of water in an instant. The earthquake registered a magnitude of 9.1 to 9.3, making it the third strongest earthquake ever recorded. It shook the planet so hard that it altered the Earth's axis by several centimeters and slightly shortened the length of our days. But for millions across the Indian Ocean, the shaking was only the beginning. Unlike earthquakes on land, undersea quakes don't always cause visible destruction. Not at first. There was no initial chaos, no fires, no collapsing buildings. But the true terror was already taking place under the sea. Tsunamis are not like regular waves. They're a wall of water, more like a moving hill of ocean than a surfable crest. Out at sea, they may only rise a meter or two in height, but as they approach the shore and the seafloor rises, the waves grow taller and deadlier. These waves were moving at over 500 miles per hour, the speed of a commercial jet, and they were heading in all directions. Coastal communities from Indonesia to East Africa had no idea what was coming. Most of these countries had no tsunami warning systems in place. Unlike the Pacific, the Indian Ocean was unprepared, and so, across the region, the ocean began to act strange. In Banda Aceh, Indonesia, the closest major city to the quake's epicenter, the first tsunami wave struck about 20 minutes later. Residents saw the sea pull back. The tide suddenly receded, exposing the ocean floor, something no one had ever seen. Boats sat stranded. Fish flopped on wet sand. And then, the wall of water arrived. Some survivors describe it as a mountain moving toward them. The wave was 30 to 100 feet high in some places. Concrete homes were swept away like sandcastles. Mosques, schools, and roads were gone. Entire villages were obliterated in seconds. People ran. Some tried to climb trees or buildings. Others clung to debris. But the force was too great. Cars were tossed like toys. Families were separated. Children were swept away from their parents' arms. Over 167,000 Indonesians would die, many in Aceh alone. Around 8:30 a.m., over an hour after the quake, the waves hit the western coast of Thailand, including the popular tourist destinations of Phuket and Khao Lak. Many tourists were still having breakfast, playing in the surf, or packing for the day. A young girl named Tilly Smith, just 10 years old, had learned about tsunamis in school weeks before. She noticed the signs about tsunamis, the retreating ocean, the strange bubbling, the exposed seafloor. She begged her parents to flee. They alerted hotel staff, who evacuated the beach. Dozens of lives were saved, all because of one child's memory. But in other areas, no such warning came. The waves hit hard. Hotels were crushed. Pools were flooded with seawater. Some guests who had been sunbathing were found miles later inland, carried by the flood. Over 8,000 people died in Thailand. Many of them were foreign tourists. In Sri Lanka, over 1,000 miles away, the first wave struck around 2 hours after the quake. Towns like Batki-Kaloa and Galay were devastated. Entire trains were lifted from their tracks. One of the most haunting images comes from the Queen of the Sea, a passenger train packed with over 1,500 people. It was derailed and buried by a massive wave near Paralia. Only a handful survived. It remains the deadliest railway disaster in recorded history, caused by a natural event. In India, the state of Tamil Nadu saw catastrophic losses. The town of Najapattinam was nearly erased. Fishermen, their families, and entire communities were swept into the Bay of Bengal. But the tsunami didn't stop there. Waves struck the Maldives, Malaysia, and even Somalia, more than 4,500 kilometers from the epicenter. In East Africa, hundreds were killed. The tsunami had literally circled the globe, with ripples detected as far away as the U.S. West Coast. In total, the disaster claimed over 230,000 lives across 14 countries. Millions more were injured or displaced. Entire communities ceased to exist. Many bodies were never found. Families were separated. Parents searching for children. Spouses clinging to photographs, hoping. In some areas, entire generations were wiped out. The world responded with an outpouring of grief and aid. Over $14 billion in donations flowed in. Countries sent ships, doctors, engineers, and volunteers. Organizations like the Red Cross, UNICEF, and Doctors Without Borders mobilized massive relief efforts. Amidst the tragedy, stories of survival emerged, astonishing, heartbreaking, and human. In Sri Lanka, a woman survived by climbing a telephone pole and holding on for hours. In Indonesia, a 14-year-old boy floated on a mattress for 2 days, surviving on rainwater. In Thailand, a young man from Germany was swept out to sea, only to be rescued by a fishing boat 3 days later. And then there were stories of those who narrowly missed death, travelers who had canceled their trips last minute, families who stayed at higher-up hotels, locals who followed their instincts inland. Every story mattered. Every name lost mattered. The 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami changed the way the world views natural disasters. In its wake, the Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning and Mitigation System was established, an international effort that now monitors seismic activity and water pressure changes across the region. Evacuation signs, drills, and sirens have become part of life in coastal towns. But more than anything, the tsunami reminded us of nature's terrifying power and the fragility of life. On December 26, 2004, the ocean rose without mercy. It moved entire cities. It shattered lives. But in its wake, people rebuilt. They remembered. They honored the lost. Today, memorials stand in Thailand, Sri Lanka, and Indonesia. Every year, thousands gather at sunrise to lay flowers, light candles, and say the names of those taken. We cannot control nature, but we can prepare, we can learn, and we can always remember. This is When Nature Strikes. If the story has moved you, please explore our other episodes, like the 1992 Hurricane Andrew, to the Joplin tornado which struck during a city's high school graduation, all available on our YouTube channel. Just search for the Border City Kids. And be sure to subscribe, like, and share. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and never underestimate the power of the storm. Good night.